The story of the Anunnaki becomes even more mysterious when we begin talking about their supposed homeworld, a planet known as Nibiru. According to alternative interpretations of ancient Mesopotamian texts, Nibiru was the planet from which the Anunnaki came to Earth. The earliest references to the word Nibiru appear in the writings of the ancient Sumerians, one of the world's oldest known civilizations, which flourished in Mesopotamia thousands of years ago. In the Sumerian language, the word Nibiru is often translated as the crossing or the point of transition. Some researchers interpret this to mean a celestial body that crosses into our solar system. Others argue it refers simply to a crossing point in the sky, possibly linked to the movement of Jupiter or another known planet. The idea that Nibiru is an actual, undiscovered planet gained global attention in the 1970s through the writings of Zecharia Sitchin. Sitchin claimed that ancient Sumerian tablets described a 12th planet in our solar system, one with a highly elongated elliptical orbit that takes approximately 3,600 years to complete. According to Sitchin's interpretation, this planet Nibiru periodically enters the inner solar system. During these close approaches, the Anunnaki supposedly traveled to Earth. He suggested that their mission involved mining gold, which they needed to repair their planet's damaged atmosphere. When the labor became too difficult, they allegedly created humans as a genetically engineered workforce. It is an extraordinary claim, one that blurs the line between mythology and science fiction. But how much of it holds up under scrutiny? Mainstream historians and linguists strongly disagree with Sitchin's conclusions. They argue that his translations of Sumerian texts are inaccurate and not supported by academic scholarship. According to experts in ancient Mesopotamian languages, the term Nibiru does appear in texts, but it does not clearly describe a rogue planet entering the solar system. Instead, it may refer to Jupiter or a specific astronomical position in the sky. This raises an important scientific question. If Nibiru were a large planetary body with a 3,600-year orbit that brings it near Earth, wouldn't we have detected it by now? Modern astronomy is incredibly advanced. Telescopes can detect objects far beyond Pluto. Space agencies continuously monitor near-Earth objects for potential threats. A planet large enough to sustain life and large enough to cause catastrophic gravitational effects would significantly disturb the orbits of known planets. Such disturbances would be measurable and obvious. NASA and other major space agencies have repeatedly stated that there is no evidence of a planet called Nibiru approaching Earth. Over the years, viral rumors have predicted that Nibiru would collide with Earth in 2003, then again in 2012, and later in 2017. Each predicted date passed without incident. So why does the theory refuse to disappear? Part of the reason lies in something scientists themselves are investigating: the possibility of another large planet in the outer solar system. Astronomers have observed unusual gravitational behavior among distant trans-Neptunian objects. To explain these anomalies, some researchers propose the existence of a hypothetical body called Planet 9. Planet 9, if it exists, would orbit extremely far from the Sun, and would not enter the inner solar system. It is not believed to pose any threat to Earth. However, in popular conspiracy circles, Planet 9 is often confused with Nibiru. The existence of a theoretical distant planet is sometimes presented as proof that ancient texts were correct all along. But there is a critical difference. Planet 9 is a scientific hypothesis based on observed gravitational data. Nibiru, as described in alternative history theories, is a catastrophic returning planet that periodically disrupts Earth. Another question often raised is whether major disasters in Earth's past, such as ice ages, mass extinctions, or ancient floods, could be linked to Nibiru's supposed close passes. Some theorists suggest that a massive planetary body passing near Earth could trigger earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and climate shifts. They connect this idea to global flood myths found in multiple cultures, from Mesopotamian stories of Sutra to the biblical account of Noah. However, geological and astronomical evidence does not currently support the idea of a large planet repeatedly entering the inner solar system in recorded history. If such close passes occurred, we would expect clear physical and orbital evidence. It is also important to consider the symbolic nature of ancient writing. Ancient civilizations often use poetic and mythological language to describe astronomical events. The sky was deeply connected to religion and cosmology. Words like crossing may have had spiritual or astrological meaning, rather than literal physical interpretations. Could it be that Nibiru was never meant to be understood as a physical wandering planet? Could it instead represent a celestial alignment, a seasonal marker, or even a mythological concept? There is also a psychological dimension to this mystery. Humans have always looked to the sky searching for answers about their origins. The idea that we were visited by advanced beings from another world is both thrilling and unsettling. It challenges traditional history and offers a cosmic explanation for humanity's sudden leaps in knowledge. Nibiru, in this sense, becomes more than a planet. It becomes a symbol of the unknown. Every few years, new claims appear online warning that Nibiru is approaching. Videos circulate, dramatic headlines spread, and fear resurfaces. Yet each time, predictions fail. The cycle repeats because the idea itself is powerful. It taps into deep human questions. Where did we come from? Are we alone? Was our civilization influenced by something beyond Earth? At present, there is no scientific proof that Nibiru exists as described in ancient astronaut theories. But the legend persists because it represents something bigger than astronomy. It represents humanity's desire to connect its past to the cosmos. Whether Nibiru is a misunderstood ancient term, a mistranslation, a symbolic myth, or simply a modern conspiracy theory, one fact remains clear: the story continues to fascinate millions around the world. And as long as we continue looking up at the stars, searching for meaning in the darkness of space, the mystery of Nibiru will never truly fade. To truly understand why this idea refuses to disappear, we must go back to ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, where the Sumerians built the first known cities in human history. These people were not primitive. They developed writing, mathematics, astronomy, legal systems, and large-scale architecture. They mapped the heavens with surprising precision. Clay tablets show they tracked planetary movements carefully. For an ancient civilization, their astronomical awareness was extraordinary. Because of this, some alternative researchers argue, if they were so advanced, what if they knew something we have forgotten? The word Nibiru appears in several Akkadian and Babylonian texts as well. In some references, it is associated with the god Marduk. In certain interpretations, Marduk's celestial body was called Nibiru. But here's where interpretation becomes complicated. In ancient Mesopotamian cosmology, gods were often linked with planets. For example, Ishtar was associated with Venus. Marduk was associated with Jupiter in later Babylonian astronomy. Many scholars believe that when texts mention Nibiru, they are referring to Jupiter's position in the sky, particularly when it crosses the celestial equator. This explanation is consistent with known Babylonian star catalogs. However, supporters of the Nibiru esplanade theory argue that ancient descriptions go beyond symbolic astronomy. They point to cylinder seals and carvings that appear to show solar systems or unusual celestial objects. They suggest that the ancients may have witnessed something extraordinary. One frequently cited artifact is a Sumerian cylinder seal that allegedly depicts a central star surrounded by smaller spheres. Some claim it represents the Sun and all 12 planets, including Nibiru. But mainstream experts counter that the object likely represents a star cluster, not a scientifically accurate solar system. The debate becomes a clash between interpretation and imagination. Now consider the 3,600-year orbital cycle proposed by Zecharia Sitchin. He based this number on a Sumerian term called a sar, which equals 3,600. He argued that Nibiru completes one orbit every sar. But ancient texts never clearly state that a planet with a 3,600-year orbit enters the inner solar system. This conclusion comes from modern reinterpretation rather than direct literal translation accepted by scholars. Still, the idea remains captivating. If a planet had such an elongated orbit, it would travel far beyond Pluto before returning. In theory, some comets follow highly elliptical paths. But a massive Earth-sized planet behaving this way would produce measurable gravitational effects. Astronomers carefully track planetary perturbations, slight changes in orbit caused by gravity. The discovery of Neptune itself happened because scientists observed irregularities in Uranus's orbit. If Nibiru were large and periodically entered our region of space, we would expect similar disturbances. Yet no such disturbances consistent with a 3,600-year intruding planet have been observed. So where does the fear come from? In the early 2000s, internet forums began spreading claims that Nibiru would collide with Earth. The narrative grew stronger as 2012 approached, a year already associated with the end of the Mayan long count calendar. Some combined the Mayan calendar reset with the Nibiru return theory, creating a dramatic apocalyptic prediction. Books were written. Documentaries were produced. Social media amplified the idea. For many people, it felt like ancient prophecies were aligning. But 2012 passed. Earth remained intact. After that, new dates were predicted: 2017, 2018, 2020. Each time, nothing happened. Yet the theory did not die. It simply adapted. Some shifted the narrative from collision to close pass. Others claimed Nibiru is cloaked, invisible, or hidden behind the sun. Some even suggested governments are concealing evidence. This pattern reflects a broader human tendency: when a belief is emotionally powerful, failed predictions do not necessarily eliminate it. Instead, the explanation evolves. There is also a cosmic scale curiosity driving the legend. Scientists acknowledge that our solar system is not fully mapped. The outer regions remain mysterious. Objects like Setna, a distant trans-Neptunian object, show that our solar neighborhood is more complex than once believed. The Planet 9 hypothesis, proposed by astronomers to explain unusual orbital clustering, adds fuel to speculation. Although Planet 9 is theoretical and far from confirmed, its possibility reinforces the idea that unseen worlds may exist at the edges of our system. However, even if Planet 9 exists, it would orbit hundreds of billions of kilometers away, and would not periodically approach Earth. Still, for many, the possibility that something unknown is out there is enough. Now imagine, purely hypothetically, that a massive rogue planet were to enter the inner solar system. The gravitational consequences would be enormous. Tides would intensify. Earth's crust could experience stress. Asteroid trajectories might shift. Climate patterns could change dramatically. But such an event would not be subtle. It would be unmistakable and globally measurable years if not decades in advance. This is why the scientific community remains firm there is no current evidence of a planet like Nibiru approaching Earth. So what does Nibiru ultimately represent? Perhaps it represents humanity's longing to feel connected to something larger than itself. The idea that advanced beings visited Earth offers an explanation for ancient architectural marvels and sudden leaps in knowledge. It provides a grand narrative, one that stretches beyond Earth and into deep space. It also challenges conventional history. If Nibiru were real, it would rewrite everything we think we know about civilization, evolution, and even religion. But until concrete reproducible evidence appears, Nibiru remains in the realm of myth, reinterpretation, and speculation. And yet there is something fascinating about that. Because throughout history, many discoveries began as speculation. Planets once invisible to the naked eye were later confirmed. Entire galaxies were once unimaginable. The difference is evidence. For now, Nibiru exists not in telescopic data, but in stories. In reinterpretations of ancient tablets. In debates between scholars and alternative historians. In viral videos and apocalyptic headlines. It lives in the tension between curiosity and skepticism. Maybe Nibiru is not a physical planet at all. Maybe it is a symbol reminder that humanity still has unanswered questions about the cosmos. Or maybe, somewhere in the darkness beyond Neptune, there truly is something waiting to be discovered. Until then, Nibiru remains what it has always been. A mystery suspended between the ancient past and the infinite sky. But there is another layer to the Nibiru mystery, one that moves beyond astronomy and into the psychology of belief. Throughout history, civilizations have looked to the sky and seen meaning. Ancient people did not separate science, religion, and mythology the way we do today. The sky was alive. Planets were gods. Comets were omens. Eclipses were warnings. In Mesopotamia, celestial events were recorded with intense seriousness. Priests and astronomers observed planetary movements because they believed these movements influenced earthly events. When something unusual appeared in the sky, it was not merely astronomical, it was divine. So when we read ancient references to a crossing planet or a powerful celestial body associated with a god like Marduk, we must ask, were they describing a literal object or expressing cosmic symbolism? Supporters of the Nibiru hypothesis argue that ancient cultures across the world share surprising similarities. They point to global flood myths, stories of gods descending from the heavens, and sudden advancements in civilization. They suggest these are fragmented memories of extraterrestrial contact linked to Nibiru's arrival. But cultural similarities can also arise from shared human experiences. Floods occur naturally in river civilizations. The sky inspires awe in every culture. And progress in knowledge often appears sudden when viewed from thousands of years later. Another angle often presented is geological catastrophe. Some theorists connect Nibiru with mass extinction events, such as the extinction of the dinosaurs or the Younger Dryas cooling period. They suggest that a large celestial body passing near Earth could disrupt climate and trigger global change. However, scientific evidence attributes the dinosaur extinction to a massive asteroid impact 66 million years ago, supported by iridium layers and the Chicxulub crater. Climate shifts in more recent history are linked to volcanic activity, solar cycles, ocean currents, and orbital variations, not a recurring hidden planet. Still, the Nibiru theory persists because it offers a unified explanation for mysteries that feel unresolved. And then there is the technological argument. Some claim that ancient structures, the pyramids of Egypt, the massive stones of Baalbek, or the precision of certain megalithic sites, demonstrate knowledge beyond what ancient humans supposedly possessed. In this narrative, Nibiru becomes the origin point of advanced knowledge delivered by the Anunnaki. Yet archaeologists consistently uncover evidence of gradual technological development. Tools evolve. Construction methods improve. Human ingenuity, not extraterrestrial intervention, explains much of what once seemed impossible. But here is where the story becomes truly powerful. Nibiru is not only about a planet. It is about doubt. It challenges official narratives. It asks whether history has been fully preserved. It questions whether ancient knowledge has been misunderstood or lost. In the modern age, where trust in institutions sometimes weakens, theories like Nibiru gain traction. The idea that governments might hide cosmic threats fits into a broader pattern of suspicion. The internet amplifies these narratives, allowing speculation to spread globally within minutes. At the same time, science thrives on evidence. Astronomers scan the skies continuously. New telescopes, such as powerful space observatories, map distant regions of the solar system with incredible precision. If a massive object were approaching the inner solar system, its heat signature and gravitational pull would be detectable. This creates a fundamental divide between the Nibiru narrative and scientific methodology. Science asks, where is the data? Where are the measurements? Where are the orbital calculations? The Nibiru theory often answers with interpretation rather than observation. Yet, there is something deeply human about the desire to believe in a returning celestial force. Apocalyptic cycles appear in many religions. The idea of a cosmic reset, destruction followed by renewal, is ancient. Nibiru fits perfectly into that archetype, a wandering planet that returns to judge or transform the world. And perhaps that is why the story feels timeless. It blends astronomy, mythology, conspiracy, and existential curiosity into a single narrative. It turns the vast emptiness of space into something personal, something that could directly affect humanity. But after decades of predictions, after countless warnings of impact or near misses, Earth remains stable. No rogue planet has appeared in our skies. No measurable orbital disruption has confirmed a hidden giant crossing our path. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with two possibilities. Either Nibiru is a misunderstood ancient term, amplified by modern reinterpretation and imagination, or it is a symbol of humanity's endless search for cosmic meaning. Because in truth, the real mystery is not whether Nibiru is coming. The real mystery is why we want it to be real. Why we are drawn to stories that place humanity at the center of a larger cosmic drama. Why we feel that perhaps our origins are more extraordinary than evolution alone suggests. Nibiru lives in that space between skepticism and wonder. Until verifiable evidence appears, it remains a legend. A powerful one. A story that connects ancient clay tablets to modern telescopes. A theory that refuses to disappear because it speaks to something deeper than astronomy. It speaks to our need to understand who we are in the universe. And maybe that is the greatest truth hidden inside the Nibiru story. Not that a planet is coming, but that humanity will never stop searching the sky for answers. There is yet another dimension to the Nibiru mystery, one that stretches beyond ancient tablets and modern telescopes. It touches the very foundation of how human civilizations interpret the unknown. If we step back and observe history carefully, we notice a repeating pattern. Whenever humanity encounters something it cannot immediately explain, it creates a story. Thousands of years ago, thunder was the anger of gods. Eclipses were signs of divine displeasure. Comets were warnings of war or disaster. Today, we understand lightning, orbital mechanics, and gravitational physics. But the emotional reaction to the unknown has not changed. The unknown still triggers fear, curiosity, and imagination. Nibiru fits perfectly into this ancient pattern. It is distant enough to remain unseen, mysterious enough to inspire speculation, ancient enough to feel credible, and cosmic enough to feel powerful. Another interesting aspect of the Nibiru theory is how it connects to cyclical time. Ancient civilizations often believed time was not linear, but cyclical. Ages rise and fall. Civilizations are built and destroyed. Catastrophes reset the world. In that framework, a returning celestial body every 3,600 years makes symbolic sense. It becomes a cosmic clock, a mechanism of renewal or destruction. Whether literal or symbolic, such an idea resonates deeply with mythological thinking. Some researchers have also explored whether Nibiru could represent a brown dwarf star, rather than a planet, a dim, failed star orbiting our sun at extreme distances. Brown dwarfs are difficult to detect because they emit very little visible light. But again, a brown dwarf close enough to periodically enter the inner solar system would dramatically alter planetary orbits. Modern sky surveys, infrared telescopes, and space missions have not detected any such object. And yet, belief persists. Why? Because Nibiru also connects to a broader narrative, the idea that humanity's knowledge is incomplete. Even within science, mysteries remain. Dark matter, dark energy, the true structure of the universe, these are real unanswered questions. The fact that science does not yet have all answers creates space for alternative explanations to flourish. For some, Nibiru becomes a symbol of suppressed knowledge, the idea that ancient civilizations understood cosmic truths that modern society has forgotten or hidden. But history shows that knowledge typically accumulates rather than disappears. Ancient astronomers were brilliant observers, but they worked without telescopes or advanced instruments. Their descriptions were often poetic and religious because that was the language of their world. The leap from poetic cosmology to literal rogue planet requires interpretation, and interpretation is where controversy begins. There is also a sociological element to consider. Apocalyptic predictions tend to rise during times of uncertainty. Economic instability, political tension, environmental concerns, all of these can make people more receptive to end-of-world scenarios. Nibiru becomes more than astronomy, it becomes a mirror reflecting human anxiety. Interestingly, despite repeated failed predictions, each new generation discovers the theory as if it were new. Online platforms allow old ideas to re-emerge with fresh energy. Dramatic videos, computer-generated simulations, and ominous music make the story feel urgent and real. But urgency does not equal evidence. The scientific method relies on observation, measurement, replication, and peer review. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. So far, no such evidence supports the existence of a returning rogue planet entering the inner solar system. Still, the idea of Nibiru touches something profound. It challenges the comfort of certainty. It asks, what if our understanding of the solar system is incomplete? What if ancient myths preserve fragments of forgotten events? What if humanity's story is more cosmic than we imagine? These questions are powerful even if the answers remain grounded in science. Perhaps the most balanced perspective is this. Nibiru, as described in ancient astronaut theories, is not supported by current astronomical data. But the curiosity that drives the theory is legitimate. Humans should question, explore, and investigate. Skepticism and imagination both play roles in discovery, but they must be guided by evidence. If one day astronomers detect a new massive object in the outer solar system, it will not confirm ancient prophecies, it will confirm the power of observation and research. Until then, Nibiru remains in the realm of legend. A legend born from ancient texts, revived by modern interpretation, sustained by human fascination with the unknown. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. The universe is vast. Our knowledge, though expanding, is still limited. There will always be mysteries at the edge of understanding. Some will become discoveries. Others will remain stories. Nibiru, for now, belongs to the stories. But the sky remains open.